Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I wonder if Gary would like Turbo or G-Force.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Edtv, which released in 1999, with a screenplay by Lowell Gans and Babaloo Mandel, and directed by Ron Howard. Ian, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows Matthew McConaughey's character, Ed. He's a simple man living in a simple world, but he has been hired by Ellen DeGeneres' character, Cynthia, who runs a TV show, to go onto TV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Ed will have a camera crew following him around while he does his normal, mundane, everyday stuff. But as the camera crew and his popularity start to affect his relationships, Ed has to ask himself, is it all really worth it?
I want to tell you a story now, people. It's all about my town. Yeah.
Not this one.
So, Edtv is the film that has the giant Jim Carrey Truman Show shadow all over it. But this film is actually a remake of a 1994 French-Canadian film called King of the Airways, which literally is the story of Edtv. The producers at Universal kind of got wind of the story that was being sold to Hollywood now, and they bought the idea of the film. Instead of actually watching the film, they were just like, that idea is great, we're going to take that and run with it.
Yeah.
And, well, Edtv, when it released the studio, were getting a bit anxious because they didn't really know what kind of film it was. They knew that they were in the shadow of Truman Show, but they felt like Truman Show is a Jim Carrey drama. That's not going to work. Let's make sure we advertise ours as a comedy.
Yeah.
And, well, Edtv, it didn't even make half of its budget back.
No.
In the cinemas. And, well, it's kind of mostly been forgotten because of how prophetic this film was in terms of going into the future where everybody was broadcasting themselves, where a single civilian person off the street could get a webcam and become famous.
Yeah. Man, this film came to me a few months ago where I was like, man, I have never seen Edtv. Like, when it came out, as Gary said, Truman Show was everywhere. So when I saw Edtv, and it was just about a guy who was being broadcast across the world, you know, simple man becoming super famous, the same thing had happened with like Deep Impact and Armageddon. Two films had come out the same year that were just the same story but just told from different perspectives. And I saw Truman Show and was like, well, this is the decade of Jim Carrey. You know, he can't do no wrong. He's just got the best films. Who's this Matthew McConaughey? I mean, he doesn't look like much of an actor. You know, I was young. I was naive. I didn't know. I hadn't watched many rom-coms. I hadn't seen Matthew McConaughey's...
Like Dazed and Confused?
No, I'd never watched that up until... I only watched that about 10 years ago. I mean, at the same time, I think Frailty came out just before or after this. And obviously, I hadn't seen that at the time. But, man, it was absolutely amazing. I had... If I remember rightly, I had seen the McConaughey name attached to a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie leading up to this point. And so, obviously, when I saw it attached to this, I was like, no. No, I'm not watching that. But like I said, a couple of months ago, I was just like, I need to watch Edtv. And the idea that this TV company would take a simple man and give him his own film crew and just have him, you know, followed around 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was just like, wow, like Gary said, how prophetic, you know, because this is what people do now. Or the internet is just bombarded or saturated with people walking around their streets or walking around the streets of other countries with their own camera crew or cameras on their own. They're broadcasting themselves and people can cheer them and sponsor them and give them money. And yet, like we said, with the whole Truman Show and Jim Carrey, his career... It's still up there, like he's still a star, but he's been Dr. Robotnik now for like the last 4 years.
He pretty much retired and then came out of retirement, I believe, for the Sonic films.
Yeah, where Matthew McConaughey, my God, it's just skyrocketed. And I'm not saying he was always bad. Like A Time to Kill with Samuel Jackson, that was great performance.
Yeah.
You know, but recently with The Gentleman with Guy Ritchie. That was great. True Detective, once again with Woody Harrelson. Like, Matthew McConaughey isn't just some kind of love rom-com kind of actor anymore.
Yeah, he evolved. He got better.
Yeah.
And now he is a big screen draw, and rightly so. Yeah.
Which then, like I said, brings me back to Edtv of how the way this film perceives him. Immediately, right off the bat, we're just in the TV show, aren't we? We've got Ellen DeGeneres' character there, Cynthia. She's being grilled by Mr. Whitaker, played by the legendary Rob Reiner. And he's a TV exec. They're looking for something new. They're looking for something exciting.
They're a struggling company, and they're losing viewers to people watching Soil Dry on another channel.
Yeah.
That's how bad this True TV network is. And so yeah, Cynthia's come up with this new scheme, this new idea that they're just going to follow one random person in America 24/7 on TV. And so they set out to try to find who this person is.
So we put a guy on TV and we just sit and wait and see if that head starts rolling down the highway. Now that's fun for the whole family.
And that's when we catch up with Ed and Ray at a bar, and people are in front of the cameras, and Ray is the one, Woody Harrelson, who's the one who really wants to be on reality TV.
Yeah.
And it's interesting then, obviously, that Ed is the one who's kind of reluctant, actually doesn't want to be. But even though he ends up on the camera, doesn't necessarily audition, when it cuts to the studio watching the tapes back, they're like, that one. That's the one I think we want.
Yeah, I mean, it's the obvious kind of cliche kind of plot point there, isn't it?
The reluctant hero.
Yeah, that's it, the reluctant hero. Woody Harrelson is just eating up the screen as Ray. He says the most.
He's loudmouth, he's obnoxious.
Yeah.
He's one of the lads.
Yeah, he's rude. He's always got these quick, rich schemes. He's the brother who's always been protecting Ed, so he says, but you already know that it's Ed who protects him, and somehow Ed has managed to coast all the way through his life by working at a video store. Like, who works at video stores anymore, Gary? Like, kind of thing. And it's the idea, like I said, when I was watching this film, I'm like, oh my god, it's like a blast from the past. Ed and his brother live with his mum, who's living with their stepdad, played by the awesome Martin Landau. They can own their own house. You could do that at one point in America, supposedly. You could own your own house and still work at a video store. And Ed's just happy with the way his life is. He doesn't need anything. But he has recently been introduced to Shari, played by Jenna Elfman, who at this time is Ray's girlfriend, but will ultimately break up with Ray because Ray is Ray.
Well, that's it. Now the studio has automatically then brought in Ed. They've sat him down. They've briefly gone over the contract with him and explained what it is, and he pretty much agrees to it.
Yeah, which I want to say is far-fetched, but is exactly what all of us would have done or have done at some point. You walk in and somebody goes, hey, we'll pay you X amount of dollars and we want to do this with your life. And you're like, I'm sorry, you said what now?
And there was a bonus.
And there was a money.
Yeah. And so it's not long before it cuts to the premiere of Edtv, and it opens with Ed in bed, scratching himself. Yeah. That's what I believe he's doing.
Yeah. I thought it was really funny because, like I said, I hadn't watched this when it first came out because I watched Truman Show. I believed we were all living in a simulation. The Matrix came along. I was hoping for those phones to take me out of this place. But unfortunately, 25 years, here we still are. So I feel much more relatable to Ed now, where I'm waking up, scratching my balls, thinking, God, I hope the world doesn't embarrass me today. And there's the camera crew kind of in his face. And I think it's just also funny that it's not the entire world watching Ed. It's literally like North America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in Truman Show, it's everywhere. Like they're everywhere watching him. It's worldwide. In Edtv, it's literally just this local network. But we're supposed to believe that he gets so famous that most of America knows who Ed is. And it's the idea as well that they don't want him to do anything sexual on TV, but at the same time, you do because it will sell.
Well, that was the big risk that they were taking with just being an average person. And Cynthia says to Whittaker at one point, like, we kind of want someone who might break bad, because then think of the ratings, because no one wants to watch a really nice guy 24/7.
Yeah.
So you're kind of just waiting for him to screw up or do something.
Yeah, but it's a 15 rated movie.
Yeah.
You just know, like, they don't even swear in this movie.
No, it's very tame, of course. Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's a Ron Howard film.
It is,
he
yeah.
generally goes for family friendliness in almost every sense. So yeah, it's very safe that way.
Yeah. I also want to just quickly bring up Clint Howard.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I mean, it's a Ron Howard film, and there's Clint.
Yeah, and he's just the camera guy. He's working in the camera truck outside Ed's stuff, and so he has to coordinate with all of the crew. But he just has some of the most funniest lines as Ed's popularity starts to grow.
Interestingly enough, Clint Howard improvised almost every scene.
Really?
Yeah, they just played the footage in front of him and just said, here you are, this is your role in the film, react to what's on the monitors now. So, and he nails it. And he's also got the running gag of his hair plants.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm not paying the bills anymore. You gave me doll's hair. And then later on, he's like, no, I'm not paying you extra for walking my dog. Just keep the dog.
Yeah. Do you know what was great as well is at the same time, I think it was maybe the second Austin Powers movie had come out, and it's the kind of the same thing where he just turns away from a screen and just ad-libs something towards you. One of those giant things. But we're just following the first few days of Ed, going around kind of getting used to the camera crew. And what's interesting is, like, as he's just walking around just doing the mundane things in his life, you watch everybody else change around him. At first they're really nervous and some of them don't even notice, to next, like, he's going to work and they're all prepping like his parking spot, and making sure like he can just get in and do his customer talking thing. Like the whole thing about Burt Reynolds.
Right.
Those poor children don't know who Burt Reynolds is.
Get out of my store.
Go on. Get your raggedy little Steven Seagal loving asses out of here. Who's in this Burt Reynolds?
But because it's a rom-com, you need the love interest to start to come in, and we do find out that Shari and Ray have broken up, and Ed kind of tells her that he's fancied her for a little while since he met her.
Well, it's because Ed goes round to Ray's apartment with the film crew.
That's right, yeah.
And they find a tasty thong-wearing redhead.
Yes.
In Ray's apartment. And so, of course, it's broadcast live. And so his girlfriend is sat at home watching this, like, you cheating bastard.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And so that's when Ed goes back to see Ray and he's like, oh, I'm really sorry, we've kind of broken up your relationship here. And Ray's just like, look, will you go and apologize to her for me?
Yeah.
You go and tell her I'm sorry. So, well, I'll try. But then he just goes around there and ends up making out with her after doing the whole, oh, you're okay, you're better than him, and you don't deserve to be treated this way. There's somebody nice out there for you.
Like, it was building up to that, though, wasn't it? Like you said, he's saying everything that she needs to hear at that point of, you're better than this, you don't need Ray. And what he's really trying to say to her, and he ends up saying to her, is, actually, I'm better than Ray. I think you should be with me. I'll take care of you because I've loved you. Unfortunately, I've got this camera crew who are recording broadcasting the whole entire thing, which sends Jenna Elfman's character kind of in a weird spin, because she plays off the whole thing of it's embarrassing, her self-esteem, she doesn't want to be on TV all the time. But she also really likes Ed, and she knows that Ed is enjoying this and this is what he wants to do, so she's wanting to support it. And then you get the kind of public outcry, don't you? Like, they think that Ed is better than her and that he should dump her so that they can get somebody more interesting in.
I agree. It's one of the things I actually like about this film quite a bit is the editing and the splicing of all of the reactions to the live broadcast.
Yeah.
And because a lot of the characters that we cut to also have little mini arcs at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a black couple and there's this lady who's really loving watching Edtv. And her husband's just like, what are you watching this for?
Yeah.
And it's one of my favourite moments later on where he's in front of the TV And he just turns to her and says, "I'm going to make you say my name tonight, woman." I was just like, oh, damn. So there are some sexual kind of references in the film, but obviously there's a couple of almost sex scenes, but yeah.
The funny thing about that couple as well is that, like I said, that husband starts to get behind Ray and thinks Ray's really cool. And then when Ray finds Ray cheating, he's like, oh, damn, what's he up to?
Yeah. So that kind of engagement of seeing the public reacting to it is a vessel for us as a viewer watching the film to kind of feel the same way. And so the film also is like a meta commentary on the media and how it represents people. It's also about fame and, you know, normal civilian people trying to achieve fame and whether it's earned or whether it's given.
Yeah.
And in this sense, it was just given, and how he reacts to it and how his family reacts to it. So the film kind of wants to explore some of that. And that's what I thought the whole premise of Edtv was going to be about. But it's actually just a backdoor into then just becoming a bog standard romantic comedy.
Yeah.
You know, the will they, won't they? And then everyone watching in the world of Edtv are wondering whether Cherie is actually good enough for Ed. And so the media does what it does. It spins polls, it releases articles and publishes headlines that Cherie is no good and that Ed should get rid of her and find someone better. And so the film kind of also deals with Cherie trying to deal with receiving this kind of information. Like, she's trying to do her job as a UPS delivery.
Yeah.
And it's just the aggravation that she gets from random people.
Yeah, and you'd think that would work, or maybe it just doesn't work for me, because there's just so much focus kind of on that romantic comedy plot element, on top of obviously the relationships that Ed has with his brother, his mother, his stepfather, his father coming back, played by Dennis Hopper. You know, the issues that he's got with his sister, because Ray makes that whole situation where his sister met her new boyfriend, who's a lounge singer in a bar, and why it was so stupid that his sister was at the bar, because she's a recovering alcoholic. And yeah, it's kind of funny, because especially the way that Ray delivers it. But you're like, no, you're not supposed to say that on live TV because it embarrasses then your sister. And it also forces the film to be longer than it should be, because we're looking at a 2-hour runtime.
Yeah. But that's it. It's like the studio kind of get excited that these skeletons are now slowly coming out of the closet, because at the beginning, the early few days of Edtv being live, you know, the network wanted to pull the plug on it.
Yeah, totally.
But Cynthia's just like, give me a week. Let's see where this goes. We're building momentum. And unlike, say, Truman Show, where everything is orchestrated, some stuff happens naturally. Like when you said Dennis Hopper turns up, the absent father.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, wow, Dennis Hopper's back. And I'm like, oh, well, clearly he's turned up because Ed's now famous and he's like, handout.
Yeah, handout, yeah.
But he only really has like one scene in the film.
He did feel like he was there for a handout, but somehow the film, like you said, one scene with Dennis Hopper and Matthew McConaughey was more like an emotional meet-up than an actual, like, it's Ed who grabs his dad and stands him in front of the camera and says, look, if you like me, can somebody please get a job for my dad? Because the scene was so great, because Dennis Hopper is trying to bring back a kind of nostalgic feeling with Ed, and Ed goes, actually, you're talking about Ray, my brother, not me. You don't remember me at all. You have only just come back for
this handout. Yeah.
So I'll give you it, but once I'm gone, you're
moving on. Yeah. Also, at this point as well, Ray and Ed have had a bit of a falling out, obviously, because Ray's lost his girlfriend because he was cheating with this redhead. But I love that Ray had this idea of opening up his own gym and then using Edtv to get sponsorship or get free promotion.
Yeah.
So he's walking around with this thing. You always see him like with gym equipment. But he has turned pretty sour, because Cherie has also come out after what happened with Ed, saying that he's the worst lay she's ever had. And so there's this really funny sequence where he's about to go to work, and his brother Ray just turns up with an ex-girlfriend. And she's like, well, he wasn't the worst I ever had. And he's like, vindicated.
And he's really not as bad as that girl said he was. I mean, I've definitely had worse.
That's enough.
Vindicated!
Ray, what are you...
I love the book that he releases.
My brother pissed on me.
Pissed on me.
And yeah, is it Bill Murray who's there? And he's just like, well, I didn't read it. It looks bloody stupid.
Yeah.
And he was like, but did he? And Ray's just like, what's in the book?
It's in the book. You have to read the book.
But I love the cut to Ed. Who's like, he wrote the book? Ray doesn't even read books. I'm like, that's why he probably didn't write it. He got someone to write it for him.
Yeah. It's just so many different crazy plot elements all coming in while also trying to balance on top of the fact that Ed is obviously, becoming super famous.
Yeah.
He's going out of his way to drive Zambonis around ice hockey rinks and things like that and being sponsored. And going, like you said, going back to the network stuff, Mr. Whitaker, Rob Reiner's character, he started to get more and more happy with how this is going because they're being so popular and they're getting so much more money in. He wants Cynthia to push Ed just for a couple of months, which I also found quite interesting because it's like they had this new idea, this new concept, and literally it doesn't even last 2 months. Where nowadays it's like you have to be streaming or on YouTube or whatever for at least 5 months before you can even really see some kind of massive impact. Where Cynthia says to Ed, like, yeah, we'll go for another month and we'll give you a bit more money, which I don't even think I remember the money actually majorly making
Impacting his life.
Impacting at all.
No.
Like he didn't move.
No,
He
it wasn't suddenly in fancy clothes or fancy cars or
That's
anything.
it. He didn't buy a new car.
But you do see him at one point in a tux when he's turning up to some premiere with Elizabeth Hurley on his arm.
Yeah, but that could have been rented. Like,
Exactly, yeah,
How
yeah,
much
but
were they even paying? Like
it
a
just-
vending machine of Pepsi turns up in his van.
yeah, that was
he
a whole-
sponsored?
Well, yeah, I mean, he said he wanted a Pepsi, and then you have the Pepsi machine turn up. So the whole idea of sponsorship and thing, it's all here.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's the film knew where the future was going. It seems.
Yeah.
But there is extra drama added into the relationship when I mentioned Elizabeth Hurley turns up when Ed is on another talk show and she is there, and it's like the seductress, the temptress, and of course this is all being broadcast as well. So Cherie's watching this on camera and she questions Ed later, like, who was that pretty English model that you escorted to the airport? What's going on there? And he's like, nothing. But then in the newspapers, everyone's like, oh, Jill, that's the one that Ed should be with. Forget that Sherry lady. She's horrible.
Yeah.
And so the studio then are like, okay, now it's time to Truman Show this and start manipulating his life so that we get like drama and ratings.
Well, that's it, because Sherry just ups and goes.
She's had enough of the...
Yeah. Ed comes around to her house one day and the flatmate says, she's gone.
That flatmate was class.
Yeah.
She was great.
I remember her from Twister.
Yes.
She was one of the storm chasers. And Ed's like at a loss, Sherry has completely just taken herself off a grid, completely
Moved to another state.
out of the state. And it's interesting when we do catch up with her where she's living in like this empty apartment and she doesn't have a TV, but she can hear her neighbors watching Ed because Ed continues to have this relationship because the network starts to manipulate Elizabeth Hurley's character Jill into certain situations. And then ultimately him and Jill go out on a date, and then the network's like, oh, maybe they can have sex and we'll make it a big event, and there's fucking people there. And
It's like a live crowd outside Jill's house.
That's it. The police are obviously moving the car in. But this is a kind of almost PG movie type thing nowadays. So it's more like rubbing that they have on top of each other. And like Elizabeth Hurley's going for it.
He crushed her pussy. He really put his back out doing it. He had to get stretchered out afterwards. God damn.
That's it. I'm done with the review. Did you hear that language? I can't work with this, man. It's foul. It's disgusting.
Oh, something broke my fall.
Oh!
And all that boy did was hurt that little girl pussy. I'm talking about her cat. I'm talking about the cat.
But that does happen. I mean, the cat's fine.
It just broke a leg.
Just broke his leg. And Jill just disappears like the very next day.
Yeah.
She moves off to Hollywood. Like some executives think that she's good to be on camera and stuff.
Well, that's it. It's almost like she was just there to try and get an agent to try and get some publicity because, like, she did. I got the feeling she did not care for Ed one iota.
No,
she
obviously.
used this as a platform for herself, and you can tell the way when the two of them are there before they start making out. She's constantly looking at the camera,
Where
and
the
posing.
camera is, yeah.
Yeah, I was just like,
Which I gotta give it to Elizabeth Hurley. She played that character really,
Very
really
well,
well.
yeah.
You know, the attractive kind of femme fatale who wants to steal everything from Ed. Luckily, he didn't embarrass himself and actually have sex with her because the relationship was gone sour for him. But it's then being further pushed by the network. The network are like, now we've got cameras in all of Ed's families. You didn't read the contract. And once Ed realizes that Sherry has come back, the network try to shove a camera in her face. And there's nothing that Cynthia can do. Even though their relationship throughout the movie, it hadn't really been kind of a nice bond. You know, Cynthia had been manipulating Ed from the beginning. But then as she realized she was being manipulated by Mr. Whitaker and he's stealing her idea, she does want to support Ed and wants him to stop.
yeah.
But she doesn't know how. But I did like that whole sequence where she's fucking in the office and she's telling them that she quits.
Yeah, she just flips the bird. It's like, that's how everyone wants to quit their jobs,
Yeah.
right? Just,
It was absolutely brilliant.
I mean, I'm not the biggest Ellen DeGenerate fan, but I still approve that moment.
Yeah, I liked Ellen when she had her comedy show. When she got her talk show, I was like, no, I'm out.
Before it turned out that she was a horrible person behind the scenes.
Yeah, but maybe she always was. We never know. She might have, after the whole Dory incident with the brain thing.
Yeah,
so. But Ed realizes, he's caught up. He's stuck in this situation. The network are taking advantage of him and his family, and he wants out. So he comes up with a great idea. And maybe this was the first time. This is the first time ever seen on TV. He decides he's going to dox. Or I don't know if I'm using that term right. I'm on the internet. I don't know. He decides he's going to broadcast to everybody watching Edtv that he needs the information of all the executives that he's working for. And he wants all of their personal information and he's going to broadcast it live on Edtv at a certain time. And so the juicier the information, the better.
And the cash prize for the juiciest piece.
Yeah. And so it's like literally 24 hours of just people cramming as much information towards Ed as they can. And the executives are like, oh, we don't care. We're fine. Nobody's going to be able to take us down. We are in charge of this show. But Ed gets this last tiny juicy piece of information from a certain somebody over the phone that he doesn't recognize the voice of. And it turns out that a certain executive had penile implants.
Yeah.
You know,
so that he can pump and get an erection.
Yeah. Whoever that is, we don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely not Mr. Whitaker, is it? Definitely couldn't be the villain of the film.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And so, surprise, surprise, Mr. Whitaker pulls the plug on Edtv and he turns to his others and he's like, yeah, well, I didn't want to embarrass any one of you.
Yeah. We can't have this happening. That's it. It's over. And Ed's off TV.
Yeah. But you think like, okay, and then, he's now back with Cherie and they're in bed and they're like, happy together.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I do like, though, is that it's kind of, again, the foreshadowing or the alarming kind of future that would come when you see the kids. Now, EdTV's off the monitors.
Yeah.
And the kids are in a corner shop and the security camera's on them and they can see themselves in the monitor and they're like,
Yeah.
we're on TV, we're on TV. I was like, yeah, it won't be long. We'll all be on TV.
That's the crazy thing. But it's also that other line somebody says where they've got the talk show hosts, Michael Moore and the rest of them all sitting around. And they had appeared at different times throughout the film to say about, how EdTv is doing. And I thought it was interesting. One of his friends ends up being on there and trying to be a smart kind of panelist. And then right at the end, one of the panelists says, EdTv, nobody will care about him in 5 years or 6 months. And that's how the film ends. Like, Ed was on TV for 2 months and was super famous and everybody loved him. And then supposedly, he's gone.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't want to believe it, but that
is the reality of the world, isn't it?
Legit happens, People strive for that famous
5
spot.
minutes of fame.
Yeah, and then they get it, and then they don't want it anymore, and somebody else goes, well, I'll take it, and they become the next one, and it just...
Yeah.
The world
Evolution
goes
of fame.
round. Yeah. Amazing.
Well, Ian, what were your favourite scenes from Edtv?
I had a few. I mean, I'm glad we get to do the favourite sequences because we forgot to bring up the fact that Dennis Hopper, the dad, ends up sleeping with Ed's mum at one point and dies of a heart attack. And there's this whole hilarious kind of situation where they say, oh, the dad's died, and he thinks it's Martin Landau's character. But it's not, it's Dennis Hopper's character.
Then he finds out that his mum has now cheated on his dad with his biological dad, who is her ex-husband.
Yes, but she was also cheating on the real dad at one point with the stepdad at some point. So there's a whole situation.
Ed's mum's a bit of a player.
Yeah, she is.
But Martin Landau's like, well, I was irresistible, so
that's it.
I
mean, that's it. The actress playing the mum was great because she over dramatized a lot of her sequences.
Did you recognize her at all?
No, I mean, I've got her name written down, but I've got
best of the best. She was the agent that was brought in to give them the spiritual training.
No way! Oh, no wonder she was so great. I mean, yeah, she was great because she was able to like over dramatize certain sequences with her and Ed, but then at the same time she brought it back down on a relatable thing because he did really love his mum, and then Martin Landau, he's just all over the place to the point that Ed's dad, Dennis Hopper, has died and they're burying him, but he can't go into the funeral because of the camera crew that's obviously following him. But it's Martin Landau who comes back to the gate and has like a little sweet moment with him, and Ed says to him like, "You'll always be my dad," and it's really sweet. But then it's kind of spoiled because you realise that the camera crew have just broadcast that completely sweet moment to the entire North American audience that's watching Ed.
Yeah.
I just loved a lot of the ideas in this movie where you always have it where a film comes out. And like they do with this film, the executives are like, oh, nobody's going to enjoy watching a camera crew follow a guy 24/7. And literally 25 years later, it's literally happening now. By the time this broadcast is going up, there is somebody walking around with a camera on them while people are watching them. It's fucking mind-blowing. The fall of Ellen DeGeneres, that's pretty good. Her quitting. Like, I wonder if she did that to the people that are working for her. Like, fuck you, I'm the host of the show. This is just toxic. Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson in some of their sequences are just brilliant. Woody Harrelson is funny as hell.
Yeah.
Like, he's great. I love him in his little dressing gown when he's trying to hide the fact that he's got a woman. So many great sequences.
Yeah. First memorable one that comes to mind is the chicken dance.
The chicken dance, yeah.
Ed's on TV and he's just like, look, Ray, I know you might hate me, but, you know, got some money for you. I'm going to do that chicken dance. Now, you do the chicken dance, and Ray's looking and saying, I'm not doing that. That's not how you do it. And before you know it, they're both chicken dancing around. You're like, okay, yeah. But I think that my absolute favourite scene, you already mentioned it, is Martin Landau. Martin Landau steals every scene that he's in this film. I'd never really thought of him as like a comedy actor, but he was hilarious in this.
I gotta pee. Wish me luck.
Because he was so funny, when you have that heartfelt moment where Ed says, no, Al, you are my father.
Yeah.
You can't help but feel that emotion.
Yeah.
That was real. And Martin Landau's reaction to it sells the pride that he has also. Yeah, that was a really nice, magical moment between really good actors there.
You're my father, Al.
And I guess not really seen, but so much as the way that the film was filmed and edited and blocked even, that the film is a lot of melodrama. There's a lot of cliched moments that keep happening, like, oh, my long-lost dad has turned up.
Yeah.
Oh, my mum has now slept with my dad, who I've not seen in 20 years, and oh, now my dad's dead, and oh, my brother is cheating, and it's like all of these soap opera stories condensed down into this man's like 2 months, 3 months.
Yeah.
Was just outrageous. So many things happen like this, and you're like, are you sure the studio wasn't making this happen like Truman showing it? So some of that stuff kind of weighed on the film for me a bit too much. I was like, this is just preposterous now.
Yeah.
But what kept me engaged was the camera work, was Ron Howard's direction, and the blocking specifically, where you are, as an audience, constantly reminded that what we're watching is also being live broadcast.
Yeah.
So, for instance, you'll have a conversation with Ed, and Cherie will move out of frame and sit down off frame. But then the camera will move.
Yeah.
And then a monitor will appear in frame.
Yeah.
So then she's central in frame, but on the monitor within the film. And the film does this so much that there's always monitors, there's always cutaways to monitors, or people watching Edtv, so that you're constantly engaged and reminded of the premise and what's going on. So yeah, the blocking and direction and editing were really good and almost seamless. You didn't really notice unless you were trying to pay attention to it all. Yeah. Well, Iain, do you recommend Edtv?
I do recommend Edtv. I mean, like I said, if you compare it to The Truman Show, it loses points in many different avenues. But it's just so prophetic. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is great. Woody Harrelson is great. Clint Howard, he's fucking great. You know, Ron Howard behind the camera. Did he know what he was doing, or was he just working with what he had at the time and just worked in the environment that he had? And so now when we look back at it, we're like, oh, like he was trying to tell us something, or he didn't know what he was trying to tell us at the time. But now we look at it and we go, this is present day for us. It's crazy to think that this movie, like, I wouldn't say it absolutely bombed, but it didn't, you know, make back the money that it did. But if it came out nowadays, people would be like, oh yeah, it's the way we live now. It's so relatable. I think it is fun. It is maybe a little bit too long for the 2-hour runtime, but maybe that's just me and I'm getting old.
Yes and no.
Ooh.
I don't think I can really recommend this, as this romantic comedy felt bloated with cliches. It was numbingly formulaic, and it was overlong at a 2-hour runtime. The plot setup is fine. It's incredibly prophetic and interesting, but the central love story takes over and my interest waned rapidly, as there was no real love story, just a brief connection that felt hollow and not at all convincing. The actors and performances are great. Matthew McConaughey and Woody Harrelson work really well together. There's some great chemistry there, but the standouts for me was Martin Landau and Rob Reiner, who have some funny, heartfelt moments. Ron Howard's direction is masterful here, with some excellent camera work and blocking. It's engaging and energetic, with lots of edits to establish this reality TV life with all the mixed reactions. The music, though, was nothing special. It was just serviceable and forgettable, and sadly for me, this is how I felt about the film. Forgettable. I'm not saying this is bad. It's just a film that I would not jump to watch again. I'd say it's probably worth a watch if you like this cast. Fame. Be careful. It's out there. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
Well, back to infomercials.